Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about interviews. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, how will AI change the interviewing process in the future? Does the coding challenge that you take home give a correct picture about the quality of the candidate with AI tools available? Depends on the challenge. So this is probably still one of the things that I haven't had a chance to do yet. Right now I really like my job, so in my current company and so forth. So I'm not looking to switch or anything like that. But when I was looking at my last role, I had a bunch of interviews, as you probably expected, and just as you could expect, I had a few coding challenges here and there. Now the problem I had was that the challenges that were presented to me were not the like pure computer science type of things, because as I've said before, guys, usually there's like a 50-50 chance. It's some companies do pure computer science things like LeetCode and Caddies and these sort of platforms, and some give you a small project, or like you get a specification of an application and you're supposed to implement it and things like that. And those are the ones that I got. And as I've said in many of my little AI question videos that people have posted to me, that problem AI cannot fix for you, basically, because there's simply too much to for the AI to process in order to build like a whole application with all the different cases and stuff like that. You can absolutely use it in order to do some parts of it or speed up your process and things like that. But as I've said as well, it requires you to really know first and foremost what the end result should be and evaluate if the code that is being written is correct and stuff like that. And for a junior, that might have been something that was useful. For me, it's not so much, because I've been doing this for so many years that it's like a standard coding challenge is just the hours that it takes to do stuff. Like nothing is challenging anymore when it comes to those sorts of things. But what I wanted was one of those computer sciencey ones, because I kind of figured that is immediately when I first tried out ChatGPT and CodePilot when they first came around. I was like, immediately, every single computer science interview is now a cakewalk, or should be a cakewalk, because these questions are perfect for an AI. They are absolutely perfect. They are usually small in scope. They have something really complicated and so forth. And these, like the styles of functions or whatever you're doing is uh, it is nothing short of perfect. And I was very sad because I wanted to try it out and sort of just go through it. I've only had one of those, like, yeah, the people who designed this test are idiots type of situations, where I remember this was a small scale company who had a technical coding platform for JavaScript, and it was online, and the questions were all, what does this code do? And then you have 30 seconds or something like that to like usually a lot of functions. And so what I did is obviously to open up the inspect panel and open up the console in the browser. Next, on the one side I have the test. I copy paste the code, ran it in the browser, got the output, and could select the like correct question. Like I'm pretty sure I had full top grades on that challenge or something. I don't even remember anymore, but that is an example of, like, you sort of overlooked a few things there, I think, in the formulation of your questions. And that is what I suspect is going to happen. Well, it is happening now. I would be very surprised if it's not happening right now, because I mean the school kids are already doing that, where people are being caught cheating or using AI and stuff like that. That's the thing I tell people. It's very dangerous to use an AI to generate, a history report or something like that, unless you know your stuff. Because if you, as the human, cannot do an accurate evaluation, it's, as I've said before, it's not like a calculator where it's at the level where you can quote unquote always trust that it's going to give you the right answer. Here you have to sort of fact check things in order to not have a problem. And then your teacher, who might be very informed, goes and reads your report and sees that, yeah, this is not correct, like this is made up or so forth, or this has to be done with AI, for example. That is a very dangerous situation. For these sorts of things, it's usually not, because you get examples of what the output should be and things like that. It's very easy for you to empirically evaluate if this code is correct or things like that, which is perfect. So what I suspect is going to happen now is that companies are going to either start forcing you to go on-prem in order to do these things, or create some other type of restrictions where you can't use AI and stuff like that. I think I failed an interview a while back because they had some platform where I was doing some logic test or something like that, and the whole thing was that they had like checks or something like that on the website, so that if I did switch to Windows, so I did anything but focus on the thing, it was counted as like a failure and stuff like that. And me, in my ignorance, sort of didn't understand. I mean, I didn't even read it, so I completely, like, I think I didn't even get past the first question because it was such a weird, for me, a very weird setup, because they wanted to make sure that I wasn't cheating or anything like that. And so to me, what I argue is that if you were to go over to those more realistic tests, if you really want to make sure that AI is involved, that would be the best way of doing it. Because as I said, even if they're using AI, it won't help them, because they will need to know all the tools and all the different ways of doing things and stuff like that. The AI doesn't know that, and it's never going to know that on average. Well, it's going to be quite some time before you're getting to that point. And so I always tell my developers, even at work, I do the exact same thing. I tell them, I don't care how you get the code done on your local machine. We have checks and like CI pipelines and everything like that, and reviews and stuff like that. So if you were to tell me, for example, now that you knew how to do all the work and so forth using only AI, you don't have to write any code or anything like that, I don't care. The code, like the value, like the reason I hire you is because I need you to be able to produce the software that is necessary to get a working system in a reasonable amount of time, right? So if you can do that with AI, go for it. I mean, I use AI every single day for certain things. Well, in many cases I do, and all my coworkers are doing it as well. So if you do an interview test and it's the same deal, I don't really care, because the interviews is there to just assert that you can produce the software necessary. The thing that you need to do, though, is, as I said, and that's why I don't really advocate for CS style of interviews. You don't really get a sense for if they know how to code, if they can show if they can code in your environment, so to speak. So that's why I love the realistic ones a little bit more. But I suspect that this is the way things are going to go. You're going to get a bunch of restrictions on you, or they're going to do on-prem things, so like do like video conferences while you're solving, like they're going to try to get around it in some way, or they're going to switch over, most companies, to what I'm saying, like interviews that are more realistically aligned and so forth. My tip is, and will continue being, that if you really need to have technical interviews, because it's, in some cases, there's a lot of people who are going to apply to your job, and if you can't do an interview early on, you might want to have something simple, as I said, a very small realistic code challenge or something like that, and then an interview directly after. But the thing that I hope this will bring is what I argue is the most important thing, with my example of the teacher. The teacher is a good evaluator. And that is the thing that I argue lacks in many companies today. You have a lot of focus on having tests and like making people prove to you that, like that what you're doing and stuff like that. But the person doing the hiring, they don't know fuck all about even looking at the results. All they see is a passed coding challenge or a failed coding challenge. And I argue that just as with the teacher, a teacher can tell, should be able to tell, if you use AI if you really know and understand the thing that you just wrote. I do the same thing. If I sit with you and you do a coding challenge for me, and I walk you through the algorithm with me, then I can hear if you actually know what the fuck this is doing. Then that's what I argue is what is necessary here. It does, like, a person, quote unquote, can't really cheat if they're sort of like with math. If you only write the answer well, then me as the evaluator, then I only know the answer. So if that's correct, okay, then I can only guess that you knew the answer. I don't know if you cheated or not, but if you're forced to write out the algorithm and then walk me through how the formula, if you have to walk it through with me, then I will be able to tell how well you actually know these things, and we can have a few follow-up questions and stuff like that. That's the thing I hope that people will start moving towards, because that basically means that now you have people evaluating who really know this stuff, and we get away from this like arbitrary manager who has no experience in anything, just picks a random tool and then basically tells people yes or no based on something they don't even understand. So what I want you to take away from this is that I think that AI has already had this effect right now. I hope at the very least, where people sort of, if you haven't thought about it, just do it, guys. Like I would do it. I want to do it, to just go through every single one of those categories, lead code types of things with, you know, it will take 5 minutes. So please, companies of the world, please go over to all of this, because this will help me a lot, because I know for a fact that I can handle your personal interviews and I have the experiences, all that. And if you're still going to force me to do a code test, please give me one of these, because I can do it with AI in 5 minutes instead of giving me the ones that I was suggesting, which is more realistic ones, which might, depending on how you design it, take me a whole fucking week to complete. And I hate doing that. Even though I love coding, it's a lot of work for just getting to talk to you. Anywho, so please do that. And my guess is that people will start moving towards on-prem things or similar sorts of things, or as I said, it's the case that they're going to have to rethink these completely CS style of interview questions and make more realistic tests and so forth. And my biggest tip is still pivot your interviewing process from focusing on that they pass the code challenge to giving them something. If you need to screen them, if you can't just do the interview immediately, make sure that you have people who really know how to evaluate a software developer on the inside. Because as I said, guys, even if you were to use AI to solve the problem that I have presented to you, and then I get to go through the code with you, I will be able to hear if you understand what this thing is, like what the algorithm is and the considerations and all this sort of stuff. Because if I have a conversation with you, I can hear your level of confidence in the solution, just as with the school kids getting caught today. If the teacher knows that you don't even know the first thing about the essay you wrote, they're going to assume that you didn't write it. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Have a great day.